Hey, we're here with PeterPaul, who's talking to me today about relationships and love after 40. PeterPaul, you're 41, is that right?
Yeah, almost 42, about a month.
You hadn't been on a date in 10 years.
No. I hadn't dated, like seriously had like a girlfriend in 10 years. I mean, in my 20s and, definitely in my 20s and I would say at least my early-ish 30s, I put myself out there a lot. That was just kind of, the thing to do. But now I'm just like, I'm too focused on work. I'm too focused on like the important thing, like the things for me that like I'm trying to chase. And like if I date someone now, it's only because I'm legitimately interested in having a relationship with them.
So it sounds like you've got enough going on in your life that the idea of like actively dating, whatever that means, is not on your radar. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not trying to go out 3 or 4 nights a week, do with different chicks, playing the scene. Like I literally, I just signed up a couple of weeks ago for one of these online dating sites, and I hadn't been on one in honestly since like probably 2009, 2010. And like I signed up because I was just like, let me just see what's out there. Nothing I want.
So what's your type? Like, are you talking about like 22-year-olds or
No, these are
48-year-olds or?
no. The last date I was on was a girl, not the last date, but actually, this might have been my last real date. It was probably like a year and a half ago. This girl hit me up. We didn't go to college together, but she went to the grad school at my college. We had some overlapping friends, and she was like, "Oh, I see you're into like classical music." I don't know what I'd posted, and I am. I love classical music. She's like, "There's this like chamber orchestra thing happening at the college. Do you want to go? Like, why don't we go check it out? There's a drink up afterwards at a bar." I'm like, "Yeah, all right." I'm like, did this chick just ask me out? Okay, cool. I show up, and she might be a year or two older than me. So like, this was not like some 22-year-old, right? Like, um, I show up. It's her and her two friends, and we go to this chamber music thing. And then they're like, "Oh, let's go get drinks after." We go get drinks, and I'm talking to her. We're at the bar. Her two friends are kind of lurking, and I'm like, "Okay, this is a little weird." And we order a drink. I'm like, "I'll get a beer, I might get a scotch or something." She's like, "Oh, I'll have a wine." And they both just come up on the sides and like, "Oh, I'll have a wine. I'll have a wine." And I'm sitting there like, "Wait a minute, what just happened right here?" And then like the bartender brings the drinks, and he's like, whatever amount of dollars, and they're just kind of standing there. And I'm like, "Okay," I'm like, "I got this, I guess." And I buy a round of drinks. Right. So then we're sitting there, we're hanging out, having a drink. They're like, "Oh, there's a dinner area in the back. Let's go have a meal." And I'm like, "Okay, sure. I mean, if that's what's happening, we get a table. Like we wait for a little while, we get a table. And now I'm just like, dude, are these chicks literally just gonna try to get me to pay for everything all night? We sit down, the waiter comes over and he's like, "Oh, can I start you with drinks?" They're like another round of wine. And at this point, I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'm driving, so I don't want another drink." Right. Then I text my friend. I'm supposed to be going to a show later, right? And I told the girl I was meeting. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to a show later. Maybe if you want to come with, right?" And my friend who was in the thing, he was like, "Yeah, I could leave you an extra ticket, right?" So then she starts talking about with these girls, and like, "Oh, can you get us a ticket too?" And like, "Can we come with you? Whatever." And I'm like, "I don't know. I'd have to find out." So I text my friend, "Yo, I need you to call me right now." He calls me, and as like before, like literally as he's calling me, the waiter comes over. He's like, brings drinks, and he's like, "Are you ready to order?" They all three of them order a salad with salmon on it, and I'm just like, "Holy shit! Like, am I expected to just right?" So I text this dude. He calls me, and I'm like, "Oh, holy shit! Oh my god! Oh no! I'll be right back." And I just leave, and I leave the place. I go to the show. I ghost her completely. Um, let them pay for their own whatever. But I was after I bought the round of drinks beforehand, you know, I was like, "Dude, I'm getting set up here." And then she like 2 or 3 days later hits me up on Facebook on Messenger and is like, "That was really rude of you." I'm like, "Rude of me? Like you basically just had me like were you just gonna expect me to pay for everything?" "No, no, no. The drinks were just we just thought you were buying around." I'm like, "That's not the way this felt like it was going down."
Well, it sounds like I'm struggling with this idea. Okay. And I'm being devil's advocate, right? I'm not saying I'm right. I'm
Sure.
just being devil's advocate that there are these three women and they're in New York City And I'm presuming they all have jobs.
Their jobs were not high paying at
Okay.
all. When I'm out with some people, if I try to go for the check, they're like, no, dude, I got this one, right? So when people start reciprocating and you have this kind of like, just like back and forth, like no one's keeping track, but everyone knows like we're all cool, right? Versus like
Right.
there are definitely people where now, they take advantage of these kinds of scenarios, right?
So if I'm a woman and I meet you and you're really great and fun to talk to and everything, and you just automatically like, look, I got this. Wouldn't I just assume, well, that's what he wants to do? Like,
Sure.
you know what I mean? Like, would I, because I'm not going to think, well, if he's a great guy, he's not doing it because he wants me to feel obligated. He's doing it because he really wants to do it.
I don't want anyone to feel obligated.
So at what point are you just like, how does a woman win in that scenario? Like, does she always have to fight you for the check and then, then you'll stay engaged?
I think you do it once or twice and that's fine. Maybe like that third time, if there's really no attempt or they're kind of just waiting their dough faced, then it's like, okay, separate checks, please. Like,
have you ever had a date pay for your meal?
Yes. Yeah. When the checks come and they would just grab it. Right. Like, so like the girls I end up dating are actually the ones who are equally as generous as I am, I think, in a sense of like, they understand it's circular.
So what I'm hearing you say is like, I lived in New York, or any city or any place, there are people, male or female, who are looking for someone who's going to take them out for a nice time and spend money on them. But then there are people who are want to meet people, but they have their own, because of whatever their upbringing, that they don't want to spend money, or they don't want you to spend your money on them. And those people appeal to you. Those are the ones that you like. And ironically, it sounds like those are the ones that you're most likely to be generous with, right? So if someone is like,
yes,
hits New York City and they want someone to just take them out for steaks and, wine, that's not going to happen.
If anyone visits and they are a family member or an out-of-towner that we're going to go entertain, I will take you somewhere dope and I will cover the bill. Like, you're my guest. We're out here. Like, so I'll have cousins from, we have cousins around the world, our family, right? People I've never met, or maybe I met 20 years ago. Or like maybe a college friend or a high school friend that you haven't seen in forever. You go harder on those occasions than you do on dates. You know what I mean? Like, I'm Coptic Egyptian and Maronite Lebanese. I grew up in a very like Egyptian household where if someone's coming over, you feed them a meal, you feed them desserts, you give them tea. There's like, pistachios in a bowl. There's some cashews. There's like, if anyone's ever coming over, you put a spread out, right? And if I'm ever going anywhere, I'm bringing a bottle. Or depending on who the audience is, I might be bringing like, an array of desserts, like a box of like a bunch of. It just depends on the audience, right? You're either going to get like sweets, or you're going to get alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's just how we're raised.
Okay, so all right, so it's a beautiful thing, right? In that culture, is that it's about generosity. It's about giving gifts and showing that you care. And if someone visits you, you're going to take care of them. But not all cultures behave that way, right? So different cultures don't do that. Different cultures,
yes,
you only bring a gift if it's an extraordinary thing. In my family's culture, you fight for the check. I've literally physically had to wrestle, my uncle or my aunt for the check, and I would lose, right? I mean, it was just a symbolic thing, but other cultures, you don't do that.
I think there's some truth to what you're saying, right? Like, not everyone comes from the same background where it's like they're fighting over the check, or like they bring a gift every time they go somewhere.
If you were dating a woman who was from your culture, who was Egyptian or Lebanese, how would that reciprocation happen?
I would fight them and not let them pay, and then they would probably on the next one fight me and not let me pay.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Like, I think they would do that. I don't think they would just let me pay the whole time.
Why don't you just not ever offer to pay the check?
Like if you're putting up the boundary from the second you meet someone, is that just the way you are? I'm not like that. Right? For me, it's like, I want to cover the thing, right? Until you expect me to cover it. Right? I want to cover it, and I want you to sometimes want to cover it. I may not even let you cover it. I want you to want to cover it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's
Yeah, but how? Okay, again,
I get it,
maybe you're
bro.
kind of a
Mixed
dick about
messages.
it,
What
but
do you want, dude? If they came into it and said, "Hey, I'm going to cover my stuff. You don't pay for me." That's cool. That's fine. But if I come in and say, "Hey, let's go out, but you pay for your stuff, I pay for mine," that's off-putting, right? Like,
yeah, I get that. I
it,
get that.
yeah. So it's not about if so, I've never met the person who has been like, "I pay for all my stuff." I've not met that person. If someone said that to me, I'd be like, "Okay." When I finally get to where I want to be, the universe is just going to put something in front of me and be like, "Okay, here she is." Right? I think everything before that is me trying to force it, me being like, "Wait, is that a thing? Is that a thing?" Trying to like interpret signals and being like, "Is that the thing?" Whereas it's like I'm not trusting that I will just know.
A lot of people date to avoid whatever things that they have to deal with in their own life, right? So you're like, nope, I'm going to take care of myself, and there'll be a time where I'll be at a place to really get in a relationship. But if one happens organically, just out of the blue, just naturally, that's awesome. But you're not going to go on the dating app.
I haven't been on it in like 4 or 5 days. I have just every time the thing hits my inbox, I don't even open it. I just delete it. I just like I don't even care. I probably looked through several hundred people in the first few days, and like maybe liked 20, 30 of them, sent messages, crickets, nothing. And I'm just like, okay, not even one person. Like, am I way over targeting? I'm sure a lot of people are just looking at whatever my 3 pictures are up front. They're actually headshots I just got done. Literally like 3 weeks old, dude. And I'm like, yes, these are my headshots, but they're good. They're funny, bro.
If I were on a dating app, well, and I am, and I saw headshots, it would be kind of a red flag, PeterPaul. And if you know anything about headshots, they've been all photoshopped. I'm just saying, not that yours are,
Not mine.
but
Not mine. No touch-ups, bro.
Are they just headshots? Nothing else?
Like, I don't have recent photos of myself because I'm not out here on my phone taking pictures. I just took a selfie right now because maybe I'll use that.
Have some guy just take a picture of you.
Then it's the same as a fucking headshot, except not as nice. The things I'm telling you on my profile, you think that is really everything about me, and that you're just going to be able to judge who I am and how we vibe, and like, maybe I'm not reading it the way you wrote it, right? Like maybe there's different fucking intonations on different words, like, and it just changes everything about it. But like the buzzwords that I'm looking at quickly are, hitting all the sparks. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And then we meet and there's like nothing there, right? Like it's different than in real life where it's like, you don't know anything about each other. And then you have a conversation about something and you're like, oh, well, that's interesting. I kind of want to know more. Right. And like, then you start getting all the other stuff.
I hear that. Do you talk to women that you're not attracted to?
I want to treat everyone with respect. And that's just how I roll. Like, I'm not, it's like, if anything, it's harder to talk to the really hot girl than it is to talk to everyone else, because everyone's trying to talk to the really hot girl. Right. And she's so disenchanted with everyone trying to talk to her that she thinks you're just trying to hit on her. So I just don't even bother.
What's your long-term projection for yourself? Like, what do you think is going to happen down the road?
I mean, it depends. There's all different like EVs, right? Expected values. It's probably 20 different scenarios. I'd say it's like 40% I never get married or have a relationship, and die single. But like that 40% is split short, middle, and long term. Like I might only have a couple years. I might have 15, 20 years. I might have 30, 40, right? Like, whereas then you have all the relationship scenarios that are like probably the 60%. And that is relationships in the near term, in the midterm, in the long term, and all the different, maybe I meet someone next week and it's on for the rest of our lives, or I don't meet someone for 20 years and it's on for a few, right? Or anything in between. So like, I mean, what do I think is going to happen? I don't know, bro. I'm not a futurist, dude.
What do you want to happen?
Oh, I would love to meet an amazing woman and have a family. I mean, and I would love to accomplish all my goals. meet a fucking great person that I can share it with, and have an awesome family. And the life I want is a creative one that is really hard to get. And I've put a lot of work into it. And I'm so stubbornly passionate about making it in that life. I don't want to just settle down and get married for the sake of getting married, have kids for the sake of having kids. I'm not there yet. I haven't hit that point in my life. I don't know if I ever will. I know what I want, and it's not to surf the want ads and see what chicks are into me, right? Like, it's, I'm not interested, I scroll through it for 20, 30 minutes and I'm like, God, this is so, I'm like, I hate it, like this just doesn't feel anything, like I'd rather go have a drink or smoke a joint and go sit at a bar or something and talk to no one. Like, it's just as fun,
All right. Well, I'll go with you. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be great for you. I think it already is. I think pursuing your dream and not, making it complicated is a good thing. And I think, you're going to find obviously you're going to find what you're looking for. So,
I mean, and if we do, we do, we don't, we don't. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of just, you just roll with it. You have if you don't expect anything and you're not waiting for it, like, you're not going to be disappointed if it doesn't happen. So, like,
yep.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, man.
All right. Thanks.